Thank you for joining us. This is Health Your Own Way podcast, and I am your host, Mo Atkins. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're talking about using energy and tantric sex for building bonding. I really want to have this conversation, so I'm really glad to have my guest, Stephanie. She has over 10 years of experience in mental health field, working with individuals ranging from 6 years old to 50 years old. So I feel like she's going to give us a wide range of experience, and I'm excited. I know this is a hot topic, so fair warning, it's not for people that don't want to be, knowledgeable. So I'm just letting you know this is education. So Stephanie, thank you for joining us. Anything else you want to add before we start today?
No, that was perfect. Thank you for having me.
Great. Okay. So when we say, I know the topic is like using energy and tantric sex to build bonding. Like as a society, I know we talk about things but do you think we're overly sexualized but lack the knowledge of sexual health itself? If that makes sense to you.
Isn't that unfortunate? It's so true.
I guess, when we talk about tantric bonding, how do we then use energy and tantric sex for building bonding? You have to explain that to me because I don't think a lot of people understand. And because tantric sounds a little bit risque, people may not be open to it. So why should they be? I know I ask you a lot of questions. So
that's okay. I'm very excited.
Let's go with this. Start off.
So tantric sex is, everyone has their sort of views on things. One of my views with Tantra is it's about energy. It's not about penetration. And so when someone is looking to increase that energetic bond with their partner and really feel that deep dive connection versus sort of the light connection, a good 10-minute quickie or a 5-minute quickie, right? That's all fun and games. And it's nice to have spare the moment and you've got that energy and that fun and that lightness. But then there's other times where it's really nice to just get deep with each other and really feel into each other's soul and have your heart connecting and your breath working with each other and get that vibration going between the two of you. So again, I like to talk about Tantra without thinking or requiring penetration, right? Because oftentimes in America specifically, we are so hypersexualized, but we really know nothing about it most often in relationships. And so couples they'll want these things, they'll have these fantasies, but they won't know how to go about actually achieving them in a healthy way that meets their needs, unfortunately. So
you say that, and it's so true because you can turn on TV, you can turn on social media, sex is everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you want to sit down, have an actual bonding or just sexual bonding with a significant other, some people are uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. They don't know where to start, right? And I think especially for male and women, unfortunately, society puts us in a box that a woman, certain our needs may not be met, or we don't know how to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And then men sometimes don't want to be, emotional or be sensitive in respect to, feeling that bond. They just think they have to hit a number. So yeah, how does one put blinds against society's viewpoints? You know what I mean? And really dive into really understanding that partner they have and create that bonding.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. So media, right? Media it portrays these messages to us. So like that Sex Life show on Netflix. I have been so angry through watching
the whole thing. I'm sorry. I saw the whole thing.
And every step of the way, I'm like, you're destroying your marriage. You're destroying your marriage. You're destroying your marriage. And you're teaching other people.
Leave the man. Leave the man. Sorry. Okay.
And you're teaching other people.
Just go see it. But go ahead, Stephanie. Go ahead, please.
That show taught everybody how to do everything wrong. And I'm sitting here cringing and I'm pacing and talking to my husband. I'm like, this is making me so angry. And so the problem and challenge is in every sex scene, if you just think about that show, it shows you how to get to climax. And if you go down a train subway and the subway is coming at you, you're all of a sudden going to have hot, steamy sex in this dirty subway with rats everywhere. That is so unrealistic. And so then we take that image, right? And we bring it into our own personal bedrooms or, homes and relationships with our partners. And then we expect this hot, steamy, outcome, and we expect it right away. And we don't give our bodies the time to really warm up, as I would say, right? So real quick tip, takes a woman an average of 20 minutes of external stimulation before they have enough blood flow to properly receive penetration in a healthy way that doesn't cause microscopic tears or damage to their vaginal walls, right? Where a male doesn't take that long for blood flow. They take, usually 30 seconds to a minute to really get a full erection. And those who don't have, erectile challenges. So I love how you say hit a point, right? There, or hit a number, right? They have to get to that number and they have to get to that stimulation. And that's the beauty of Tantra. Is Tantra doesn't focus on getting to that end result. The whole thing isn't about getting to the end. The whole thing is about slowing down and enjoying every bit of that sensation.
I like when you said that. And yes, I've seen the show, but then going back to that specific section, when you mentioned that, little tip, it takes about 20 minutes for a woman to warm up and, take proper, and then man right away. I find that that itself, a lot of people don't know. And the reason why I say this is a lot of women are put in situations that are made to feel a certain way, that if they're not ready, or they may be like, oh, they're just not into it. But again, it's not us per se. It could just be that, as you said, you need to warm up, you need to relax, you need to get into the mood. I can't just jump on you like you see on TV or on some adult show and think, okay, that's the way it is. And you said, like, our perception of what reality and what's fantasy and reality is not, it's totally opposite.
Right. And so an example of women being told when they should have sex and getting somebody else's permission is the whole 6 weeks postpartum time frame. After 6 weeks, then you can have sex. Like, you have to wait for 6 weeks to have sex. So basically, society is now telling a woman you have to wait 6 weeks, which is good. That the whole reason they say you have to wait is so that you're properly healed. But that's your skin healed, not your muscle structure, not your pelvic floor, right? Not all of the shifts that your hips and your spine just went through from having a tiny human, right? So it's unfortunate that there's so much around a woman's body that people say you have to do this. And then the guy is like itching for it. 6 weeks. Okay, we got to wait 6 weeks. And it's like, all of a sudden, bing, 6 weeks and we're ready, right? No, we're nursing. We've got tiny humans climbing all over us, right? We're not sleeping. What human is going to want to do that? And for those who also don't know, nursing is actually a society or humanity's natural birth control, because when you're nursing, it stimulates the same chemicals in your brain that an orgasm does. And so it's your brain's way of stopping the interest in intimacy so that you don't have another baby too soon, so you can continue to take care of your current baby.
And heal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second, Stephanie. Just give me a second. I've learned a lot so far. Let me just breathe and take it in. Okay. So you mentioned energy. So what do you mean by energy? Because energy has could be defined in different ways. So when you say using energy in tantric sex, to me, that seems separate. So explain to me what you mean by energy.
So the best way to explain it is by using an example of how to get that energy moving between two humans. So we are vibrational beings. We convert energy, right? We're water, or what is it, 80% water, or whatever it is. So energy moves through us in a very unique way. And so one way that you can do that with your partner is by sitting face to face, and either your legs strapped over your partner's or your partner's legs strapped over you, however you prefer that, and coming as close as you can to each other, so that your legs are kind of like this, and then holding each other's heart, and then your other hand over your partner's hand, and just breathing into it with each other and pacing your breath together. And a technique is called box breathing or diaphragmic breathing. And how to do that is those listeners who want to really learn and feel it, if you hold your rib cage, you can squeeze your pelvic floor. And then as you're breathing in, you want to breathe in for 4 seconds, pause for 1, breathe out for 4, pause for 1, and then fill your rib cage when you breathe in. So and then do that. And you can just continue to breathe like that with each other. And what that will do is that will bring your heart into coherence with each other. So your heart rate will start to navigate each other's the same. Your breathing will start to go together. So your heart rate variability is what that's called will then regulate each other. Then you can really get into that moment with each other. So you're in the moment, not in the past, the stressors from the day, work, whatever, kids, whatever, or in the future, oh no, financial strife, COVID challenges, what's going to happen to my business. All of those thoughts kind of fade away, and you're just able to be here with each other and really focus on each other's breathing. You can bring your heads to each other. And so just talking about it, can you feel that energy in your body? Can you feel that? Right. And so that right there is exactly what energy is, that feeling of just being bonded and connected with another human.
I'm going to say something. I think a lot of people that are ready for that are the mature ones that want some kind of bonding. They want that. And I think it's a beautiful thing, because after a while, as you get older, even when you're younger, like a lot of us want that connection. I think human beings want that connection. And unfortunately, the show that you mentioned from Netflix and other shows that you see out there, they kind of they reflect fantasy, and we see so many times that we think that's part of reality, and kind of it makes it hard for us some people to connect in the form that you mentioned, because that's not the expectations. Like have you ever seen on TV what you're saying, like energy? Like do you see someone? Because it doesn't happen. If it did happen, or people show that, then people be open to that idea and want to learn more.
Absolutely.
I think one of my last questions, like when you mention tantric sex or use energy, what are some of the misconceptions or like the pushback you may get from other people that they don't want to believe that that's even possible, that you can share with us?
They're usually, that's woo woo, right? Or like, oh, should I just go hug a tree now, right? And they they get
I wasn't
super
expecting that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they get super, that's too spiritual for me, or that's not spiritually in alignment with my current spirituality or my views, right? There's a lot of, and really all that is defense. Really all that is their stories in their brain are not in alignment. And there's a lot of fears around having that true bond with somebody, so they can see it and love it, but then to actually take action on it is a whole different ball game, because of the discomfort of feeling like they're going to be rejected, or they're not going to be loved, and they're never going to get this love from anybody else, so they have to have it from just this person the way they have it right now and never ask for more. That scarcity mindset is one, monogamy brings that on, but two, society just teaches us that you have to be with the one person, and if you're not with that one person, then you're all these other things.
I think that's one of the reasons why I think we sexual health or anything that deals with sex on a different level than actual specific penetration should be more of a open conversation. And we're sexual beings, and I think a lot of unfortunate religion and culture and viewpoints of women and men kind of makes it hard for us to just take away from the normal stereotypes of how society should be.
Yeah.
I appreciate this conversation. And I think if anybody wants to reach out to you, in respects to what you offer or learn more about what you do, and what's the best platform to reach you out on?
Absolutely. So my website is the best place to go, safetyinfreedom.com. We help parents and couples assertively communicate, courageously set boundaries, and enhance their self-control. Ultimately, you'll learn how to own your power, embrace who you are, and break toxic patterns. So my website, safetyinfreedom.com/call if you want to pick a time, but just my website as well.
Love that. We're going to have that there. And I know earlier before I didn't mention, but you have a podcast. So you got to tell me, Stephanie.
Yeah.
What's the podcast called, and why did you create one?
Sure. So my podcast is called the Intimacy Truths Podcast. And the truths about intimacy is it's not just what happens behind closed doors. It's how we bond as people. And so I love bringing people on to share their story, whether it be sexual health related or not, and how they overcame the big struggles, how they've remained determined and resilient in their life. And in my beginning podcast episodes, there are some, I'll say, if there's one about sexual health, I'll say this one is not for tiny ears, so make sure you're not listening to it on the way home or from school or whatnot. So if you have any questions, yes, I'd be happy to answer them.
I love that. I think it is a conversation, and it's a podcast that's needed. A lot of us are suffering. I think a lot of us are suffering, both male and women. It's hard to open up to people. It is, to be that, because you're not taught to do that. You're taught to, and I think what you're offering and what your podcast even what you do in your business. If anybody's watching or listening, if you're struggling or, you're open to the idea of, experiencing something a lot deeper than just penetration. And it's a good thing because you're right. Like once you have that connection with somebody, it's a different feeling than just sexual. Like it's just a different level. And you may find peace in yourself or something that you may have been missing that you never knew existed. That's how I see it. But you can correct me, Stephanie.
Nope, totally true.
Okay.
You're right.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say you're right on point.
Oh, thank you. Okay, before I let you go, Stephanie, is there anything else we want to add or talk about? Because be clear, Stephanie, you're coming back to my show. But on this topic, anything you want to add or say before we leave?
No, I love these quick, great, intense conversations where we get the thing about media and marketing is sometimes they hype things up and then they don't really give you any good content, where I'm like, I want everyone to know all the things. So if this was like, whoa, there's so much here, I'm happy to have a longer conversation to help with figuring out those pieces that are there for you.
Definitely. We're going to have one. I think I wanted to have this topic because I don't see a lot of tantric sex, or even when people talk about tantric sex, they don't think of it as building bonding. They think it almost like a sexual penetration, as we mentioned.
Right.
So when you brought it up and I saw the topic, I was like, okay, this could be used in a form of connecting with somebody, and that's something that a lot of people don't see, and a lot of people think taboo of tantric sex. So just like, okay, open your eyes and do your education, and Stephanie will educate you further. Reach out to her.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share with anyone that needs to be empowered and inspired. And don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of Health Your Way Podcast. Have a good day, you guys.